Test 1 2. Test 1 2. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Preston Sports Podcast. I know I said I might have uploaded yesterday. I didn't. It's whatever. Wednesday is my regularly scheduled day. Got a interesting topic today. I'm very curious to talk about it and hear other people's opinions on it. But before I get to that, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, boop the notification bell, and make sure you let me know what you guys think of this, because I actually am really curious, because it happened just almost 2 weeks ago, and people seem to be happy about it or not happy about it. But I am talking about Jamal Adams and his contract extension. If you don't know, it was a 4-year, $70 million deal, making him the highest paid safety right now and of all time. And $38 million of that is guaranteed, per Ian Rappaport. I thought that was interesting. Now, they didn't really have a choice. Seattle being, they didn't have a choice. They had to give Jamal whatever they wanted. You've seen it happen with Jalen Ramsey, where they pay a king's ransom, and because of that, they have to pay the team a king's ransom to get the player, and then they have to pay the player a king's ransom to keep him on your team. The Seahawks gave up, I believe it was Bradley McDougald, a first in 2021, a first in 2022, and then a third in 2021 to get Jamal Adams. So they had no choice but to give him that long-term contract extension. Now, Jamal Adams is there was a point where Jamal Adams, yes, was overrated. But now, we've kind of gotten to a point where Jamal Adams is underrated because of how overrated people think he is. And I know that doesn't make sense, but that is kind of where we are right now. People, and yes, am I trying to say that Jamal Adams had a great year? No, Jamal Adams had a down year, coverage-wise, allowing 77.8% of his passes, averaging 9.1 per target against him, 11.7 per completion against him, giving up a 104.7 QB rating. It's not good. It's, even his tackling, 9.8 missed tackle percentage, not great. That's not really where you want it to be. That's 1 out of every 10 tackles you're missing. That's not at all where you want it to be. And, 0 interceptions, only 45 targets, or he had 45 targets against him. People give Jamal Adams a hard time. I've seen it as a meme going around that Vince Wilfork, a defensive tackle, has more career interceptions. He has 3 interceptions. Jamal Adams has 2 interceptions. And they use that to take away his value as a player. And I would just like to say, yes, sure, maybe he has more interceptions, but Vince Wilfork also played 13 years. He didn't get an interception until his 8th season. And also, throughout 13 years, he has a total of 16 career sacks. Jamal Adams has a career total in 4 years of 21.5. So, yes, Jamal Adams is not the most elite cover safety in the league, but he has more sacks than a 13-year veteran defensive tackle. So maybe Jamal Adams just isn't a typical safety. Maybe he's a box player. Box safeties are a real thing, by the way. 100%. Now, granted, is it better if you can play up top, play in the box, play the slot? Yes. If you have a guy like John Johnson, or in my opinion, Jesse Bates, even Minka Fitzpatrick, Tyrann Mathieu kind of started that whole thing. These positionless players who can kind of plug and play anywhere in the defense and they'll do fine. Yes, that would be incredibly awesome if every player could do that. But that's an impossible standard to hold every player up to. So let's look at Jamal Adams for what he is. Jamal Adams is a guy who plays in the box and he blitzes. Jamal Adams is very good at playing in the box and blitzing. 9.5 sacks, led all DBs this year. 9.5 sacks for a DB is crazy. Absolutely insane. Like some edge rushers struggle to get 9.5 sacks in a season. You have your Myles Garretts and your TJ Watts and your Khalil Macks who can do that easily. But I'm trying to think Who's an edge rusher they may not have gotten? What did DeMarcus Lawrence get this year? Let's look this up. DeMarcus Lawrence. That's not how you spell DeMarcus, Preston. DeMarcus Lawrence, football defensive end. Let's look at those stats. Give me the stats. Pro Football Reference. Thank you. He had 6.5 this year. And he did play all 16 games. Jamal Adams only played, I think, 14? 12. Jamal Adams played 12 games. So, he played 12 games and got 9.5 sacks. That's actually really impressive, along with 1 forced fumble, 59 solo tackles. Jamal Adams, he's not the best coverage guy in the world, but it is important to say that before this year, whereas I said he allowed 77, the 2 years before that, 55, 55.3. In 2019, not only was it 55.3 completion percentage allowed, he only allowed 187 yards, 8.9 per completion, 4.9 per target, with only allowing 2 touchdowns. And Jamal Adams actually allowed 0 touchdowns this year. People won't talk about that. He did only allow 0 touchdowns this year. PFF doesn't necessarily like him that much as far as his... I don't even know what to call it as far as his well-roundedness, sure. Now in his 400, they have him as 469 coverage snaps, 106 pass rush snaps. I don't know how you count run defense snaps away from coverage snaps, personally. That might just be me. Maybe I'm stupid. But Seattle, now this is getting interesting for Seattle. I don't necessarily know their cap situation, but Russell Wilson, I believe, is probably going to get an extension at some point soon. DK Metcalf is going into year 3. He's eligible for an extension after this season. Tyler Lockett just recently got extended. I believe Carlos Dunlap is extended with the team as well. Maybe it was a 2-year deal. Now, this Jamal Adams deal is probably why they lost Shaquille Griffin to free agency, and possibly even KJ Wright. I know KJ Wright is not ruling out a return to the Seahawks. But the Seahawks better hope they sign like Richard Sherman to play corner, I guess. Somebody. They need someone to play corner. You know what? Let's do it. Let's pull up the Seattle depth chart. I know this is a Jamal Adams video, but the Seahawks is important. So, discussing the contract. Discussing the contract and how it affects the team from a cap, but also they're 0-2 in the preseason, not very good. So that takes up a lot for them. Yes, Carlos Dunlap is on the team. Yeah, so they need corner. Oh gosh, they need corner. They have Demarius Randall playing corner again. He was not very good at playing corner in Green Bay. He's a safety. You should play him at safety. So they have Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. DJ Reed and Akilo Witherspoon are their starting safeties. Trey Bound, Trey Flowers behind them. Double Trey. They need corners. Now, was the Jamal Adams contract worth it? I believe it was. I think that, and there's definitely ways you can manipulate the cap space so where the cap hits low to start and it kind of builds up on the back end of that contract. But it is going to be very important for this team in some way, shape, or form to acquire cornerbacks, because the way it is now, Jamal Adams is going to have another down year. It's very hard for a safety to have a standout season whenever he's the only solid player on a solid DB on the defense. Because it's easy for us to say, oh, Jamal Adams allowed 77% of the passes targeted towards him, but we don't know what Jamal Adams' assignment was in coverage. Jamal Adams could honestly be in a position right now where he knows his assignment, but he's staying away from his assignment because he doesn't trust the person next to him, which is not good for a defense. But if I were Jamal Adams, I wouldn't trust the people next to me. They don't have any solid coverage DBs. Obviously, They have Bobby Wagner, and Carlos Dunlap is not bad. But they have 3 good players on the defense, and 11 players are on the field at one time. So I think that the Jamal Adams contract was a good contract, but they need to work around the cap and sign some other people around him, because otherwise you're just going to be paying Jamal Adams while your defense is trash, and you don't want to be doing that. Bobby Wagner, I'm sure Bobby Wagner can help, but Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams and Carlos Dunlap are not going to be 3 players who will just carry your defense when the other 8 guys around them can't carry their weight. Now, Jamal Adams can probably make up for a player. Bobby Wagner can probably make up for a player. I wouldn't say Carlos Dunlap can at this point in his career, but at one point probably could. But let's be generous and say Carlos Dunlap can make up for a player. That's still 5 players unaccounted for who can't carry their own weight. The Seattle Seahawks, I wouldn't have extended Tyler Lockett for 4 years. I would have done just a couple, 2 or 3 maybe. And Russell Wilson is going to need a contract extension. And they did get Gabe Jackson, I believe, from the Raiders. I don't know how much they're paying him. I think Dwayne Brown, there's something about a contract, if I'm not mistaken. Seattle's in an interesting spot, and this Jamal Adams extension doesn't necessarily help them. But going away from Seattle, obviously they need to put help around him. Jamal Adams definitely deserved this contract. Now, as I was saying earlier, Jamal Adams is in a weird point right now to where he's so overrated, he's underrated. People are talking about Jamal Adams being like Jamal Adams is not the best safety in the league. He's just not. He's not complete enough to be the best safety in the league, and that's fine. He doesn't need to be the best safety in the league to be a good safety. It's not like you're either top 5 or you're trash. There's also top 10, top 15, top 20. There's 2 safeties that start. There's 2 safeties, so saying you're top 20 is like saying you're top 10, pretty much, if you follow my drift there. But I just want to take a second and congratulate Jamal. Round of applause for Jamal Adams. I understand that some people think 4 years, $70 million, 38 guaranteed is overpaying for his talent level or what he does or what he contributes to that defense. But Jamal Adams probably didn't have an easy life growing up. Most players in the NFL didn't. A lot of the players in the NFL had a bad life growing up. Jamal Adams, $38 million guaranteed dollars. Changes his life, his family's life, his kid's life, his kid's life. If he plays his money right, maybe 3, 4, 5 generations down the line, still benefiting from this one contract that he signed. You know, maybe let's applaud the guy, whether you think he's overpaid or not. A lot of people are overpaid. Jamal Adams, not a bad person to give the money to. It's a lot of money, yeah, sure. But Jamal Adams also puts his body on the line and pushes it to its limits continuously for the reason of people like me who like to watch grown men hit each other. So maybe he deserves a lot of money, in my personal opinion. I don't think sports players are overpaid, but that's my personal opinion. Yeah. Jamal Adams, stud at what he does. And if you're trying to compare him to Jesse Bates, don't, because they're not the same player. You can't compare him to Tyrann Mathieu. They're not the same player. You can't compare him to who else? Let's go to the PFF top graded safeties, because there's a lot of them, and I guarantee you none of them are like a Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is a one of a kind player. That's why he got one of a kind money. Sorry. 1 second. There it is. Let's go to the safety position. Jesse Bates, not like Jamal Adams. Adrian Amos, not like Jamal Adams. John Johnson, not like Jamal Adams. Jeremy Reeves, don't know who that is, not like Jamal Adams. Marcus May, not like Jamal Adams. All these players. Marcus Williams, Justin Simmons, Mike Edwards, Ronnie Harrison, Minka Fitzpatrick, Buda Baker, Harrison Smith, Jimmy Ward, Jeff Heath, Darnell Savage. First of all, sorry, there is no reason Jeff Heath should be the number 16th greatest safety. Sorry, Jeff Heath just isn't good. Von Bell, Donovan Wilson, Jordan Poyer, Jamel Edmonds, Micah Hyde, Jordan Whitehead, Chuck Clark, Deshaun Elliott, Jalen Mills, Cameron Curl, Keanu Neal, Taylor Rapp, Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyrann Mathieu, Anthony Hooker, Anthony Harris, Malik Hooker, Kevin Byard, Jordan Fuller, Lonnie Johnson Jr., Jaquiski Tart, sorry. They're not Jamal Adams. They should not be compared to Jamal Adams because Jamal Adams is a one-of-a-type player. That's why he was taken top 10 in the draft. You don't do that. You don't see safeties going top 10 anymore. Jamal Adams did because he's a different kind of player and he got paid like a different kind of player. Congrats, Jamal, resetting the safety market, making more money for all others of your position. That's going to be it. Thank you for listening. I'll come back either tomorrow or Friday. If I come back tomorrow, I'll talk about Nick Chubb's contract extension. And if I come back Friday, I'll be fixing my Friday. I will talk to you guys whenever I talk to you. Peace out.